So we've got our context class. I'm going to save it. And our next step is actually going to be to create a little class that initializes our databases. And this is also going to go into the DAL folder. While we are in testing mode, we are going to be automatically dropping or removing the database anytime our models change. And that kind of makes sense, right? If we make a change to our models, that changes the structure of our tables, and we need to get rid of them and recreate them. So we are going to include some code that drops the database and recreates it. We are also going to seed the different database tables with data. So we have something to test. So we're going to add a little class to the data access layer, and we're going to call it school initializer. And I have some code that you can copy and paste so you do not have to key in all of this data. Okay, so this is what we need in the school initializer. This very first statement is the one that drops and recreates the database if the model has changed. And then you'll notice that we are seeding school context. And here we create a list of students. Okay, so more than one. And you can see that we're not specifying ID because it's going to be auto-generated. The rest of the properties we assign values to. And then you can see that we have a for each loop. So it's going to select each one of these, and it's going to add it to the database as a row. And then we save our changes. Okay? And then we basically do the same thing for course. Now, if you remember, when we created the course, we said that we wanted to enter the course ID. Okay? We didn't want it auto-generated, so that is why course ID is here, followed by the other properties. And this is similar. It's a list. We're going to use a for each to add each row, and then we save our changes. For enrollments, we are specifying the student ID, which is a foreign key. The enrollment ID is auto-generated. Student ID is a foreign key, and so is course ID. So this table has to be populated last because it's dependent on the student ID and the course ID. So the course IDs that you enter here must exist. And for the student IDs, it automatically starts numbering at 1. So you know you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you'll notice that those are the only IDs that I used. Okay, this is also a list, and you'll use a for each, which will add each one as a row, and then you save your changes. That's a whole lot of typing, so I did, in a separate little text file here, give you the code. So I'm going to select all of this code and copy it. And then I am going to Control A and paste. And then I'm going to save my changes. And I believe I've covered all of these little notes, except you'll notice that we saved the changes after each one. You would not need to do that. You could just do it at the end. However, if it runs into problems, it does help you debug to do it this way. Because if this doesn't run properly, you can see, I mean, you can actually look in your student table and see if the data is there. You could look in your course table and see if the data is there. If the data is in both of those, then you know the problem is in enrollment. Okay, so it does help you a little bit with your troubleshooting.